welcome back to another video. In this video we assemble our Jomurema body, fit it to our brand new MR-04 and take it out for its first race. Okay, so first off, why have we chosen this body for our MR-04? So the first thing that I really look for in a body is this front shape. What we're looking for is something that is smooth and that if we touch a barrier, it's just going to glance off. Now this body is, well, couldn't be any better really. As I say, it is very smooth there. There are no splitters or anything that is going to get stuck in a barrier. So it will give us maximum sort of deflection and hopefully won't slow us down at all. Now, secondly, what we're after is a nice low body, a nice low profile body. That helps our center of gravity and keeps it nice and low, so increasing cornering performance. After that, it comes down to the weight. Weight can be a huge factor on these cars. Only a few grams here and there can make a massive difference. So these bodies coming pre-coloured in the plastic means that we don't need to paint them, so there is a weight saving there. We're also looking for where the cab is positioned on the car. On this body is nice and central, which is something that I like in a body, whereas some are sort of further rear, so moving that weight balance of the car. Then comes durability. These bodies are extremely durable, which is great. The plastic is relatively thick, but at the same point not super heavy. So you know, you haven't got the weak points on a lot of the Kyosho bodies where all the fancy mouldings are. So yeah, these bodies are really durable. They're also relatively cheap compared to the Kyosho bodies, which is you know, very nice. Okay, so let's get this thing built. Not a huge amount to it. We've got the rear wing, obviously, tail lights, the front clip, side clips, headlights, and then obviously the glass. Now I'm going to be using a solvent cement to glue most of it, and then just going around with a hot glue gun as a sort of extra reinforcement, just to keep things super secure. So the first thing that we're going to do is get the front clip installed. Now this is very simple. Pops on down the front, and then we use the two countersunk screws to screw it in place. Okay, so next up will be the tail lights. As I say, I will be using a solvent cement for these. Now just placing a little on my brush, I am going to prime the areas around. I can then place my lights into the holes. Now make sure you get the lights the right way around. Got those in place now, and now all I need to do again with the solvent, oh sorry, beg your pardon, is just go around the edges and let it flow in underneath, and then we'll give them another squeeze down once the two have just started to bond together. So I can see that there is a good amount of liquid under there, and then I can just put a little pressure on there, and that will just help. With the really critical parts, not so much with the rear lights, but things like the front lights, I also use a little hot glue that just, you know, sort of gives it a bit of you know, backup if they do crack. The hot glue has a little bit more flex to it, and it normally holds them in place. It just means that I'm not running around the track trying to find them. Moving on to the front of the car, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We are just going to prime the apertures for the lights, just softening that plastic and making it a little sticky, and then placing the lights into the body. And that should hopefully just be enough to hold them there so they don't fall out. And again, once they're in, we can then apply a little more solvent, and that just wicks itself around the joint. Okay, so next up is the rear wing. Now there's 2 screws that are supplied for those. I'm going to go with the central hole to start with. Just pop the screws into place and then offer up the wing. Okay, so next up is installing the glass. Now these holes here can be often quite tight fitting onto the pins that they locate onto. So I do like to just open them up just a hair with a needle file. Just go around them a couple of times from both sides and just make them a tiny bit bigger. The glass then pops in. Make sure you locate it on the front and back first, and then slowly, carefully work it down until it is snug all the way around. Now, if you're going to be doing any painting or any additional work on the outside of the body for cosmetics, I would advise doing that before you fit the glass. You will also need to fit the glass before you fit the side clips, because they will make it almost impossible to remove the glass. But there you go. Once it is installed, there's a couple of methods that you can use to keep it there. You can either use a soldering iron and melt those pins down, which does work quite well. You can use a solvent cement on those pins, or my personal preference is just to again use the hot glue gun. So as I say, once we've installed the glass, it is then onto the side clips. The side clips are quite simple in that they locate on the side there using the little tabs. They do sit in position quite nicely. Now it is worth spending a little bit of extra time on these. I try and do a trial fitment just to see how the body sits on the car before they're fully bonded in. So what I like to do is get them fitted, dab them with a tiny bit of either hot glue or solvent cement, just to hold them enough in place that they don't come off when we test fit the car. Make sure that the how the body sits on the car is how you want it, regards to sort of ride height, and then once you're fully happy, go ahead and bond them in nice and securely with, as I say, the solvent cement and also a little hot glue, just to give them a bit of extra security. Okay, so the clips are now tacked in place. I am just going to give it a test fit and see where we're at. Now you do need to be a little bit careful that you don't pop a clip off at this point. Looking at ride height, yeah, rear I am very happy with. There is not much room to go any lower there. I can still get a slightly wider wheel on if I wish. Front, as I say, it does look like it is running a fraction high in the front. Now that is going to be harder to modify. What are my options? Well, I suppose I could put a shim underneath the plate and the clip on the front there. That would help. Otherwise it's going to have to be trying to raise the clip on the body. So I will have a little bit of a play around with that, but I think probably at the moment we will just have to run it as is. Okay, so once you have done your test fit, you can remove the body. making sure that you don't dislodge the clips, and then go ahead and fully bond them in using the solvent cement. I like to go down either side of these little tabs and then front and back of the ends to make sure that it is nicely bonded in and that they don't come loose. Then lastly, just with a little hot glue, I like to just bridge the gap on the end there, and then also there, and that just, as I say, gives you a little extra security should one of the clips pop off during a race. Okay, so the MR-04 is fully prepped and ready to race. I have a meeting coming up tomorrow, so join me at the track and let's see how this thing goes. Here we go then, first race out. We've got the second heat just finishing up, and then it'll be the first time out for the MR-04. Okay, so first time out with the new car, and it is rather nice. Yes, feels a bit different to the MR-03. Steering feels a lot tighter. I've had to go for a different setup on the springs to the MR-03. Gone slightly stiffer on the front and on the rear. We just need to see how the tyres bed in before we go any further. Okay, so we have gone up to the hard springs, the yellows on the front end. Just hoping that will sort that hook out. We will see how it goes in the next race. Okay, so we're back home now. I couldn't find the time while I was at the track, what with running the event and racing, to do much filming, so apologies for that and not getting any actual footage of it running, but now we're home. I thought I could give you a bit of an oversight on what I've managed to figure out from the car so far. So when the car was released, I think everyone was a bit underwhelmed by the differences, or what appeared the differences were in it versus the older car, the MR-03. However, I think that can be forgotten really when it comes to actually driving it. You soon realise it's a very different car. First off, setup wise, now it took a little while just for the car to sort of bed itself in, tyres to get working. However, I did soon figure out that setup is quite different to the older car. Front end wise, I've ended up, as I mentioned in the previous clip, going right up to the yellow front spring. I'm on a number 2 T-plate, so relatively soft. I can go one more softer on that, and I probably will try that. As I say, the car was turning very aggressively, so it was that I was trying to dial down with the stiffer front springs. Maybe going softer on the T-plate and coming back down on the front will improve things. I will try that next time I'm out with it. Other things to note, well, obviously the rear pod, the car does feel very planted, definitely a lot more so than the old car. But really, I think the main changes and the main things that you'll notice is the steering performance. Now, without really knowing exactly what they have changed on the front end here, obviously the knuckles and the suspension setup, but I'm talking with regards to the electronics and the geometry that they're now running on this car. The steering feels night and day different to the MR-03. You've got a lot more precision there. Running back to back with this and my Reflex RX28 that runs a conventional style servo, this new car is a lot closer to the conventional servo style layout. You've got a lot more precision. You can really feel like you can get a lot closer to the apexes without that fear that the car is going to dive off or not do exactly what you want. So there is definitely a huge improvement on the steering, and I passed the transmitter around to a few people, and that was their initial thought as well. What else have we noticed? Well, speed, you know, it's running the same motor, it's running the same pinion, so really there is no real difference to be noted there. The car with that new steering, it feels like it is running slower because it is that much easier to drive, but yeah, I can assure you it's not. So yeah, you know, it really is a lot more of a dialed in car than the old MR-03. Also in the comments had a lot of people warn me about the knuckles, that they break. As you can see, they're still all good here at the moment. I was going to put in an order for some metal ones. I haven't yet, and I haven't needed to either. So that's promising. Fingers crossed, you know, that the metal isn't needed on the front end. I do still feel that perhaps it would make a difference. Now that the front end is bedded in, I'd say that stickiness that we had when we were prepping the car has gone. So, you know, that's a good thing. But yeah, as I say, no breakages yet. So fingers crossed, all is good, and this car will be as reliable as the old car. So that pretty much wraps up our intro into the new MR-04. Final verdict from me, well, I really like it. I can't see any drawbacks in it. It's a definite improvement over the old car. So yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. Have you got one yet? Are you now thinking of buying one? I would definitely recommend giving one a go as soon as you can. So if you enjoyed watching this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and feel free to drop us a comment below. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And don't forget, whether you're out in the woods or at the track, have fun. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.